When we were last at the View, there was a conversation going on about guns. Let's rejoin.
I was just commenting during our Hot Topics meeting that I was reading that you said you are a defender of the Second Amendment, but you don't think civilians should have assault weapons.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm a defender of the Second Amendment. I was a little girl growing up in Birmingham, Alabama in the late 50s, early 60s. There was no way that Bull Connor and the Birmingham police were going to protect you. And so when white night riders would come through our neighborhood, my father and his friends would take their guns and they'd go to the head of the neighborhood, it was a little cul-de-sac, and they would fire in the air if anybody came through. I don't think they actually ever hit anybody. But they protected the neighborhood. And I'm sure if Bull Connor had known where those guns were, he would have rounded them up. And so I don't favor some things like gun registration. That said, it's time to have a national conversation about how we can deal with the problems that we have. It's not going to be any single fix to the terrible events of Parkland. You're going to have to decide, well, should civilians really have access to what are really military weapons? What do we do about the age at which people can do this? And finally, let me just say, we also need to realize that if you get that many tips about somebody that they're going to cause harm, go and figure out what was going on.
Well, they tried, but they didn't. But to the point of age, I looked it up. Out of the 156 mass shootings between 2009 and 2016, only 11 were under 21. And many of the ones who were under 21 got those weapons from somebody who was over 21. So this one little fix-it that Trump's talking about is really not...
That's the point. One little fix, it won't do it. We got to have many things that we
But it's important to point out that there's never been a mass shooting that's been carried out by an NRA member in our history. That's never happened. So as a vocal NRA supporter and Second Amendment supporter, we feel vilified. And when President Trump goes on TV and says something like, take the guns first, go through due process second, that turns me into someone that gets very tribal and very territorial, because I'm not exactly sure what he means. AR-15s
He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's against the law.
Let's concede that. Exactly. But I will say that AR-15s are the most popular rifle in America. There are, NRA estimates, more than 8 million of them. My brother, I think, has 2 or 3. I don't remember how many exactly. But I've been around them. People use them for hunting. I said that on the show a few weeks ago, and people really pushed back. Time magazine has a whole article about how people shoot coyotes, elk, deer, antelope, feral pigs.
What did they use during the ban
seal
to hunt a coyote? There was a ban. What did they use?
But it doesn't. But I think they used the guns at the level of whatever they were in history. But I'm just saying, if you want to talk about banning assault rifles, there are certain states that have banned them. New York City is one of them.
Thank goodness.
I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is, okay, so according to President Trump, if we're just going to take everyone's guns, does that mean someone's going to go over to my brother's house and take away what assault rifles, whatever he has that Trump is now deeming is okay for an individual to have?
They had a buyback.
Or a recall.
So you could give them back.
But here's part of the problem. You know, he vilified Hillary Clinton. And whipped people up and said, oh, she's coming for your guns. See, most NRA members are not